Good morning, BookTube. I am here for Reading Sprints. If you don't know me by now, I'm Caitlin from Bandy's Books, and this is Luna. Luna decided that she wanted to be in my lap, but I feel like she's getting ready to jump down and start playing. Because anytime I record videos, she wants to play or snore or make some kind of noise so that you're aware she's here. So, reading sprints this morning. If you are new to reading sprints with me, typically we read in 15-minute sprints. So I'll set a timer for 15 minutes. We just read quietly. I don't put on any like flashy graphics or play background music, just because personally I find that kind of stuff distracting. And I just like to have a quiet reading sprint. So depending on how busy the morning is and how many people show up, I will do probably four to eight reading sprints. Usually I will go till about around 11, just depending on what the turnout is and how many people are still reading. So for my reading today, I am going to be working on finishing Friday Black by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. I've been reading this for this whole month, and I really enjoyed that. Last month, when I started doing these reading sprints more regularly, I pretty much read like a different book almost every single reading sprint. And I kind of liked like picking like a short story collection instead and reading it throughout the month. Especially in this case where the stories within this collection are really heavy. It was nice being able to split it up and do like 50 pages a week, basically. So I am about 50 pages away from finishing this book. So my goal will be to finish it today, since we're at the end of the month. Are you jumping down or are you staying? Are you just looking? What are you doing? So anyways, I will start with this, and then if I finish, or not if, but when I finish this, I'll be switching over to Wayward. I am a little under halfway through Wayward. I'm enjoying it so far. I'd also like to get this finished before the end of the month. So those are my two options today. I'm not going to start a third book. Sometimes I'll have like 3 or 4 books, and that's just because we're coming to the end of July. So I want to focus on finishing what I have started. So let's see, a couple comments here. Good morning. I have a book hangover. I read 217 pages in less than 48 hours. Well, that is awesome. What book did you sit down and read so much? I want to know, just because it sounds like it was a good read. Good morning. I'm reading Scythe after I finish a post I'm working on. Awesome. Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Love that series. Scythe is probably the best book in the series, but I think it's a pretty solid series all the way through. I would say the third book is like my least favorite, and it's not necessarily that it was a bad book, but just I kind of wish some of the things in the ending were a little bit different. But overall, really, really good. Hello, good morning. Good morning, Nadim. How are you doing today? What are you reading today? Lily, gonna read The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine in a bit. Awesome. Thrillers usually are a good place to like kind of help try to break a book hangover. Let's see. It was The Witches of Bone Hill by Ava Morgan. I give it 4.5 stars. Awesome. That is a book I'm not familiar with, but now I'm going to have to check it out. Anything that can make people sit down and binge read, I want to hear about it. I'm about to start the book Ward D by Frida McFadden. Awesome. Another thriller. I think that thrillers are really good for sprints because, they're so compelling. Like you just want to keep going. So right on. Well, hopefully everybody is doing good this morning and ready to get some reading done. So let me get this 15-minute timer started. And I think Luna has decided to settle down by my feet. She's a little tired today. We went on a crazy adventure yesterday. I guess briefly on like a story share time. Oz and I are doing this thing where like we realize that we don't really plan like intentional dates very often. We do a lot of stuff together, but we don't really like take the time out to plan dates for each other. So we started this month and we basically each agreed that we would each plan one surprise date per month for each other. So he gets the beginning of the month, I get the end of the month. And so it was my turn to plan the date this Sunday. And Oz is really into hiking and camping and all that kind of stuff. So like for me, it's easy. He just picks a cool restaurant, takes me out because I'm really into like the food aspect of things, being a chef. But for him, he's not super into restaurants and like dining out and stuff. So I surprised him by taking him on a day trip. Neither of us had ever been to Laughlin, Nevada, and that's about an hour and a half from us. So we headed down that way. We stopped at there's this like off-road area called Christmas Tree Pass. It's 16 miles and you off-road. It starts at like the town of Searchlight and it ends down by Laughlin. So we came around the back end towards Laughlin and we went up that way. And there's this canyon called Grapevine Canyon. And when you walk down into the canyon, there's just like thousands of hieroglyphs and petroglyphs from the indigenous tribes that lived there. And it is the most recent national monument in the United States. Biden just gave or just went through the process to have it officially made into a national monument. So I wanted to check it out. So we went and hiked Grapevine Canyon. We got up at like 6 in the morning. So I guess I'm backtracking. We got up at like 6. We went and got a coffee and then we went to Grapevine Canyon. We hiked out there a bit, but it was already like 85 degrees when we showed up. So we just hiked out, a good distance to see that, the petroglyphs and hieroglyphs. And then we hiked back. And then we drove out to this ghost town called Oatman, which was another big, long off-road trek. We did like another 16, 17 miles off-roading. Oatman is this famous little Western ghost town, and it has like a pack of friendly donkeys that you can like hand feed, and they'll come up to your car and like beg for food and stuff. It's a cute little town. It was cool. We had Luna with us, so we had to be really careful because the donkeys are not friendly with the dogs. And, everyone kept warning us, like, do not let your dog get close to the donkeys. So we stayed like on only one side of the street opposite where all the donkeys were. And we just walked around a little bit. It was also really hot there. Got a couple things. And then we headed down to Laughlin to the Big Bend of the Colorado State Park. And my intention was for us to go kayaking, but there were so many jet skis and boats on the river that we were like, it's probably like we could kayak it, but we'd just be getting hit with wakes constantly. So not the best for kayaking, but we did end up going swimming. Luna has a life jacket, so we could take her out swimming with us. I mean, she's a really good swimmer anyways, but we put the life jacket on her to just be safe. And she seems to feel a little more secure with it. So we swam around. Luna got to splash in the water. We picked up some sandwiches and like relaxed on the beach. And then we drove over to this big dam that's outside of Laughlin to check that out. And then on the way back, we off-roaded the Christmas Tree Pass. So it was quite the adventure yesterday. So Luna is conked out today. I think she's probably going to sleep through most of this. So if you hear snoring in the background, that's what's going on. That's just Luna. I love to read classic literature more than thrillers. I wish I felt that way. I really struggle with classic literature. I just had such bad experiences with it in school that it's hard for me to get like really excited about it. I did read Huck Finn this month because I read James and I wanted to read Huck Finn first. And I don't know, it was okay, but it was kind of a struggle for me. How sweet. Yeah, it's a nice little idea. I think it gives us both a chance to like really intentionally focus on each other twice a month. Not that, like, again, it's not like we're not going to go do other stuff like go hiking and, the normal day-to-day stuff, but it's nice because when he plans a date, he focuses on what I like to do. And when I plan the date, I focus on what he likes to do. And yeah. I have heard of that place. How fun. Yeah, it's a pretty cool state park. Nevada really has some very awesome parks around. We're so close to so many national parks. Like we're within 6 hours of quite a few. There's a couple in Colorado, a couple in Arizona, a bunch in Utah, and a couple in California that are within a day trip of Las Vegas. And then we have some really fantastic state parks as well, which is, I feel like, something that gets like undervalued. People are so excited about the national parks that they forget to look at the state parks. And we have some really, really great ones here. So anyways, that was a long ramble. So let's get to the thing that we're all here for, which is the reading sprints. So I'm going to set a 15-minute timer and go ahead and read for 15 minutes. I'm just going to pop up a comment really quick for people that may be logging on while we're already reading. Sorry for the close-up on my face. Good morning. Currently sprinting. Ding. Let us know you're reading in the chat. Okay. Send that comment in so I can pop that up. There we go. And there we go. That's a much better angle. All right. So 15 minutes are on the clock. I hope you enjoy your book, and I will see you in 15. Right. So our first 15 minutes is up. I made it about 10 pages, and I'm like halfway through this longer short story that I'm reading. Hopefully, you guys all made some progress too. And we have someone else who has joined. Good morning, Katie. I'm currently reading Secret Sweets, book 18 in the Sweet Sweets Bakery Mystery by Connie Shelton. That sounds like fun. Is that like a cozy mystery series? I find often like when they have the food themes that falls into the cozy mystery genre. And hopefully your Wi-Fi has resolved. So Katie popped in for my live stream last night and mentioned that her Wi-Fi has been out. So hopefully all is well. So this book, I think I've mentioned quite a few times that this book is really, really heavy. These stories in here deal with a lot of current events and social justice topics. This story that I'm reading right now is called Light Spitter, and it is about a young man who decides to do a school shooting. It's brutal. Really just I think this is also why reading this during the sprints has helped well, is because I don't think I could have read this whole book in one go. I mean, I could have in terms of page count, but in terms of content, I think it needed some space to breathe. Just finished a cup of coffee. Awesome. I'm not doing coffee this morning. I have some English breakfast tea with some cream and sugar. I'm trying to take a step back from coffee. While I was out for recovery, I noticed that I was drinking like a fancy coffee every single day. We were going to the coffee shops a lot just because I was bored, I'm at home, there's nothing to do. So it's like I can go to the coffee shop and sit there, and I couldn't do anything physically active. So I'm limited, So I was like, oh, I'll go get a coffee and read a book and just get a change of scenery. And so that got me back into the habit of drinking coffee. I hadn't actually drank coffee regularly in several years. So the way that I functioned I would drink coffee if we went out for brunch or on a Sunday morning, Oz and I might get up and go get a coffee, but I wasn't getting them every single day. And yeah, for the last 2.5 months, actually 3 months now, I've been getting a coffee every single day. And it's bad in a lot of fronts because it's $7 or $8 per coffee here. So a lot of money every single week, and then also a lot more sugar than I should probably be drinking every single day, especially early in the morning. So I decided that this week I am gonna try to cut back and switch back to drinking my breakfast tea in the morning, and then maybe just a coffee on Sundays. I wish that I could every single day, but until I have an espresso machine in the house and can make my own coffees regularly, probably just gonna have to cut back again. And really, honestly, it's just for me works out better in the long run when I'm not jacked up on caffeine constantly. I finished my post and I'm ready to start reading. I have a fresh cup of coffee and a bagel and cream cheese. That sounds delightful. I wish that I had some food right now. I'm going to probably eat once we're done with the reading sprints. I think I have some avocados and stuff to make an avocado toast. So that's probably where I'm headed after this. Alrighty. So hopefully everybody made progress with whatever they were doing, whether it was enjoying a cup of coffee, Instagram posts, reading. No bagel and tea is steeping. Nice. Well, I'm glad that someone else is doing tea with me. All right. What are you reading today, Margaret? And hello, good morning. All right. So I'm going to set up the next 15 minutes while everybody checks in and says hello. Oh, let me put the next comment up. All right, so we have 15 minutes on the clock. I'll see you guys soon. Oh, reading my Noticing the Seasons book. Nice. Hopefully you make some good progress. All right, 15 minutes is up. right, that is the end of our second sprint. Made some good progress on my end. Let's see. Whoop. Chair's flipping backwards here. Sorry. Let's see. Katie says, my router just needed to be reset. Sweet Sweets books are called Women Sleuths, but they have cozy endings. Okay. Sounds cool. Shubnam, hi, just me watching. Hello, good morning. What are you reading? I am reading Friday Black by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. It's a short story collection. Hi, hope your day has been good, Caitlin. Hey, Sheila, good morning. How are you today? I hope your day is going well as well. My day is really just starting, honestly. It's only 9:45 a.m. over here. And so, any morning that I get to start reading and enjoying a cup of tea before rushing out is always a good morning, I think. Let's see. I finally got to the chapter for which the book is named, Light Rain Sometimes Fall. It's so soul cheering. That sounds lovely. Read 9 pages. Awesome. Progress is progress. Let's see. Already 9:45, so I slept in. Sleeping in is good. I mean, sometimes the body needs rest and time. I had a really hard time getting up this morning. So last week was my first week back to work full time. And I did like 11 hours on Friday and 9 hours on Saturday, which isn't too bad because I could work up to 12 hours. I'm salary, so like my schedule is kind of like a flex schedule. And so I'm scheduled for up to 12 hours Friday and Saturdays. And in order to accommodate that without being there like the entirety of the day, I start work at 6 a.m. So this was the first week where I've had to like get up early, because with being out, I could get up whatever time I wanted. And so it was a struggle. Friday, I was so exhausted after that 11-hour day. And then Saturday, when I got up and went to work, I was pretty sore and cramping and tired. And then yesterday we had this like wild outdoor adventure. So this morning when I got up, Oz's alarm goes off at 6 so he can get to work at 7. I was struggling. I really wanted to just stay in bed. I went to bed at like 9 last night. So, I slept plenty of hours and everything, but yeah, I'm just a little fatigued. Oh, welcome back. Thank you. Up to 12 hours. What are you, a coal miner? Eek, that sounds tough. I'm a chef. That's kind of normal for chef life. In fact, actually, this is probably the least stressful job that I've ever had in terms of hours. When I was in my 20s, I regularly worked like 70-hour weeks and 16-hour days, like back to back, go 30 days with no days off, all sorts of crazy stuff like that. Because the culinary world is behind everywhere else in terms of workers' protections and how we treat our employees and stuff. It's gotten better in the last few years. And the company that I work for now, my friend owns it. And I pretty much just run the business for him. And part of the trade-off of me coming to work for him was that I would have a little bit of an easier schedule. So I have 2 potentially 12-hour days, but I also have a 4-hour day and then 2 6-hour days. So it balances out. I'm not doing like crazy hours all week long, at least. Wow, I didn't realize. Yeah, a lot of people don't. I think especially if people are like around my age where they grew up watching the Food Network and seeing like the glamorous like chefs on TV. People kind of have this perception of this job being very, very easy. And it's actually not. I want to say that even still to like this day, it's still a pretty toxic environment. It's improving slowly, but not at the rate of a lot of other industries. There's a lot of toxic masculinity that still drives it. I'm often the only woman in kitchens when I work in them. I've done a good job, I think, as a boss of trying to hire other female employees. So at least the kitchens that I've managed now tend to be a little bit more equal. But definitely like I had to deal with a lot of misogyny and sexism and stuff growing up in this career and learn to really develop a tough, thick skin And the hours, like I said, are super demanding. You know, 50, 60, 70 hours a week is pretty typical for most chefs. And then if you think about it, like when do you want to go out to eat? So most people are going out to eat on Friday and Saturday nights, Sunday morning for brunch. All the time that you want to be at home with your family, that's when chefs are working. And so, like, if you work at a restaurant that does dinner, you might start at 2 in the afternoon and work until midnight or 1 in the morning. So it's really hard on family lives and home lives. Um, there's a high rate of drug addiction within this industry. There's like very much a work hard, party hard attitude. So there's a lot of like abuse of alcohol, abuse of drugs. I've never personally participated in that, but I've seen it pretty extensively in the industry. Um, so yeah, it's kind of a wild industry. It's interesting because I see people read like Anthony Bourdain's memoirs of being a chef, and then they're critical because he's misogynistic and talks about drugs and all this chaos and like violent things. And as somebody who does actually work in this industry and has worked in this industry for over 20 years now, I'm like, yeah, it's an ugly memoir, but it's also like spot on accurate for what the industry is like. So yeah, anyways, there's the little tangent. Have read a few food memoirs that reveal the craziness, but I didn't realize that was across the board. Oh yeah. It's I would say oftentimes actually people even clean things up for their memoirs sometimes. I learned that Amy at Astra Reed's used to be a chef too, left because of crazy egos and such. That's really common. I know a lot of people that were chefs for a period of time, that worked, I don't know, in their 20s in restaurants and then in their 30s transitioned to something else, or, it's physically really demanding as well as emotionally demanding and mentally demanding. If you're like an executive chef running a restaurant, at that point you're balancing both like business, like you're running a business like you would any other business. So cost, labor, inventory, all the things that you would do for a regular business, except you have things that expire much more rapidly. You have food science that you have to be knowledgeable on, all of like personality conflicts and management. And then you're in like a high stress environment with these crazy hours and stuff. So it's a pretty toxic mix. It creates some really not so great environments. And I say that living here in Las Vegas, where we have one of the most powerful culinary unions in the country, because the majority of business here is revolving around the strip, the casinos, the restaurants, all that kind of stuff. We actually have really decent pay and good benefits and stuff. But it's like funny, you have good vacation benefits. For example, you might have more vacation pay working in a strip casino than you would at any other like restaurant in the country. But then you're treated like crap if you take your vacation time, right? It's just, there's all sorts of really interesting things. I could go on for a long time about this subject, but it's a really high demand life, and it's one that I find a lot of people have a hard time maintaining for long periods of time. Do you have a favorite food memoir? I've read Eat a Peach and found it meh. Honestly, so the thing that I often tell people about like the food industry is it's like any other industry. Like if you work as a doctor, do you come home and watch Grey's Anatomy? It's kind of the same thing for me. Like I spend my whole day working with food and planning food and looking at recipes and costing and budgeting and all that kind of stuff. So by the time that I get home, I often don't want to read food memoirs, and I often don't want to watch food TV at all. I want a complete break from it. Because the thing that's hard with food too is like, even though I do it for a living, I still have to come home and cook food for my family. So add that on top of it and you're just like, ugh, I'm done with it. But I would say for sure the best one that I've ever read would be Anthony Bourdain's memoir. I think he really hits the nail on the head. I would say Ruth Rachel, if you like reading memoirs about food from the perspective of someone who does like food critiques instead of like writing about cooking. But I think those are the only two that I can really think of off the top of my head. Anthony Bourdain, yep. Good point. Tamar Adler took a very different approach. I liked hers. Okay, that's not somebody that I'm familiar with, but I will have a look at it. Like I said, I'm not really the right person probably to ask a lot about food memoirs because I don't read that many of them. I have one on my bookshelf, Blood, Bones, and Butter, or something like that. It's been there for 2 or 3 years. I keep wanting to read it and not getting to it. But it's just, again, it's either reading it is kind of triggering and then makes me think about work. And I'm like, I don't really want to think about work when I'm at home. Or I read like some fluffy novel of some chef in like a romance book. And I'm like, this isn't realistic at all. And then I'm mad. So it's just kind of one of those subjects I tend to just steer away from. I remember that one, lol. A lot of books suffer that fate on my shelves too. Yeah, I'm trying to get better about it. Like my TBR this entire month was books from, well, I mean, I should say that I always pick books from my shelf for my TBRs, but usually like I'll pick 25 books and I'll get to 10 books in a good month. This month, I think I finished like 15 or 16 books from my shelf. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to be working on that going forward through the rest of the year because I've reached a point where my shelves have expanded so much that there's no more room. I've filled all of my bookshelves, all of my book carts, everywhere that I have for books to be organized. And like the deal in my house is like Oz doesn't care if I get books. He's happy that I read, happy that I have a hobby I enjoy, as long as the books remain organized. And so I have to start getting rid of books to make space to buy new books. So all right. So let me go ahead and set up our next timer and we can get another 15 minutes in. Let's see. Anthony Bourdain had terrific charisma. I think I might read his book. His Death Broke My Heart. Yeah, he did have terrific charisma. He was also an asshole, and I think it's important to talk about that. There is actually a really good book. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. I could grab it towards the end of the sprints if someone reminds me. But it was written by one of the producers on his show who was a dear friend of his and loved him, but talks about what he was like to work with and behind the scenes. And he's not the first person to like point out that Anthony Bourdain was an asshole. And you have to be in this industry. You have to be like all chefs have that asshole quality in their personality somewhere. Like I have learned to suppress it, after many, many, many years of working in this industry and being treated like crap by other chefs and learning to, communicate better and to support staff and coach in like a healthier way. But like when I get really angry, there's that part of my personality is still there under the surface. And it's something that I have to like actively work to not allow out. I think that Anthony Bourdain is somebody that often gets glorified because he was so charismatic. You see him on his TV shows and he's so relatable and likable and such a great ambassador for Americans and traveling and all of this stuff. And it was why I felt really attached to him and why I related to him very deeply, both as a chef and as somebody who quit my job to go travel for a couple years. I related on many, many levels. I also related to his mental health struggles. I've dealt with depression in my adult life at different periods. And so, I really, really related to him, but I want to just make that point that he wasn't just a charismatic person. He was also an asshole and a real human and all of that. But his books are fantastic. I would recommend reading them. And interestingly, his death for me was probably the only celebrity death I think that really hit me hard. And it's because, again, I felt like I related to him on a lot of levels. I was actually sitting in the Galapagos Islands on Santa Cruz Island. It was like down by the shore. I was waiting for some of my friends to get off of work to go do some stuff. And I had my toes in the water. I was like looking out at this beautiful horizon, just relaxing. And I opened my phone and the first thing I saw was a bunch of RIP Anthony Bourdains. And I sat there and read it. And I just remember like being in shock. It didn't feel real because I was like in this beautiful environment in the Galapagos Islands. And I don't know, it's like when you're looking at somebody that has your dream life, right? Like somebody that gets to travel for a living and go to all these fantastic places and try all this amazing food. It's so hard to understand sometimes why they give up at that point. And I mean, I do understand it's mental health. It's, the struggle with depression and addiction and, just because somebody's superficially happy, in their TV show doesn't mean that they're happy at home at night in the silence. And, but it was one that really made me do a lot of thinking and a lot of deep reflection. I think because I related to him a lot, I was like, well, if he couldn't make it, this doesn't bode well. And so I actually have just used that as motivation in my adult life to really stay in touch with my mental health, to really stay in touch and grounded with the people that care about me, and to get therapy and to pursue treatment when I've needed it. Because I don't want to be that person that's like in paradise, exploring the world and eating food and not able to enjoy it. Yeah, anyways, sorry, I keep tangenting off. I'm like, let me set up the timer and then, we tangent. Anyways, I would really, really highly recommend his books for the most accurate portrayal of chef life, definitely. And his travel books are fantastic as well. But just always remember, I think when you watch his shows or when you read, that you're getting his public persona, not the person that I think he was, behind the scenes. All right, 15 minutes on the timer. See you guys soon. Hopefully everybody is productive. Right. There is our third reading sprint. So I made it about 14 pages this time. I finished 2 stories. So happy with that. Katie, this story or this book that I was talking about before the last sprint is called In the Weeds by Tom Vitale. So Tom Vitale was one of the producers on Anthony Bourdain's show, No Reservations. And he writes about his experience working on the show, who Anthony Bourdain was to him and the people working on the show, his conflicted feelings like after Bourdain died, and some of the crazy things that happened. He talks about, in particular, one scene that was really memorable to me from this book was when they were on the Congo River. They were boating down it, and Anthony wanted to make coq au vin, which is a classic French dish of like an old chicken braised with wine and tomatoes. And he's talking about like the difficulty of getting the equipment and the ingredients for that recipe in Congo. And yeah, I mean, the scene itself is kind of hilarious, but also when you think about like what occurred, it's also like pretty dark. Anyways, it's a really interesting read. So if you read Anthony Bourdain's book about being a chef or like his travels or anything, I think that this is also a good book to follow it up with because I think it kind of gives you an idea of some of the reality. So hopefully everyone's doing really well with their books. Let me know how much progress you've made, if you've read anything interesting. Are you switching books? Just take a little break here for a minute. I'm going to get my water. So right now here in Las Vegas, we're having kitten season because it's warm weather. And so we have a huge problem with feral cats in Las Vegas. And so cats can breed like multiple times in a breeding season, right? And so we have this huge pack of feral cats here in my apartment complex. And a bunch of them have had kittens already. So if you had seen Domino earlier this year, she was one of the kittens that I rescued from one of the feral cats here. She'd been abandoned. And so now there is another mom that had 3 kittens. One of the kittens already died. And then I saw one the other day and it's like really, really emaciated and sick. So one kitten is doing really, really well. She has a gray kitten and a black kitten left. And the gray kitten is healthy, looks like it's doing really well. And the black kitten is just so skinny and starved. It's still moving around and active, but it's not doing well. So after I get off of this sprint, I might go try to trap it and see if we can't get it. There's a local shelter that does medical care for feral cats. And with kittens, if you can get them early enough, you can condition them to like humans and then you can get them adopted. So I may try to go catch this cat this afternoon and see if I can't get it some medical care because I don't think it'll survive without it. It might not survive even with it. It might have like feline leukemia or something like that, but I just want to try. It was so sad seeing all of the cats here having kittens and then, the kittens disappear. Like 1 or 2 will survive and a lot of them disappear. So anyways, I've been like strategizing in my head how I'm going to try to catch this kitten. So we'll see. Wish me luck. Thank you so much. I appreciate you going on a tangent. I will read them both. Yeah. So I feel like this is like probably the most fair portrayal, I think. He doesn't write about him like he's a horrible monster, but he also doesn't write about him like he's like, this like glamorized celebrity either. I think he does a pretty good job of accurately depicting the complexities of who Bourdain was. So I highly recommend that if you're interested in him. I am on page 70 of 230. Oh, sorry. I'm on page 70 of 239. Bless you for helping the kittens. Good luck. Thank you. It's just, I didn't really used to, like, Oz and I have lived here for 4 years, and this is the first year that I feel like we've really gotten involved with it. But the apartment complex here refuses to do anything. And there's some pretty stupid rules in the part of Vegas that I live in terms of feral cats. So a lot of the charities can't come in and do anything at this time. And so it honestly gets left up to the residents. Like, either you feed the cats or they die. And because our like warm season is so long in Vegas, the kitties will breed like 3 or 4 times before it hits winter. And so they just, there's constantly kittens around. Actually, Domino's mom is already pregnant again. And so we're waiting to see. She actually stays like right by my apartment because our property is like a very big property. So Domino's mom lives like right below my balcony. I see her. I come out like to walk Luna, and she'll be sitting out on the stairs. So if she has kittens, we may try to rescue her kittens. But the one that I'm talking about now is like on the other side of the property. I see her with her kittens when Luna and I are walking, and we saw her yesterday. And the black kitten was just not looking good, and I was like, you know what? If somebody doesn't go get it, this kitten is not going to make it. So we'll see. We'll see if I can get it. My Life in France by Julia Child is excellent. Yes, that is another really good book. Another good culinary book. But it's a little different because I don't think she is like working in the restaurants and stuff like that. So I think it's more like a reflection on like learning to cook and learning French food and French techniques and like cultural assimilation and stuff like that. So a little bit different than like a book about, Anthony Bourdain and his chef life. But yes, an excellent cooking book for sure. All right, so let's set up another 15 minutes here. What time is it? 10:20. So we'll do one more sprint, and then we'll see how many people are around and interested in reading some more. And if, there's not a lot of interest, that could be the last sprint. But if there is interest, I can always do another. So, all right, 15 minutes are on the clock. Okay. It's the end of that sprint. All right. So some comments to catch up on. Rochelle, in the 1960s, we used to watch Julia Child's cooking show, What a Memorable Woman. Thanks for the recommendation. I used to watch, not in the 60s, but my grandmother used to put them on for me when I was a kid. So that's how I actually got into cooking, was through Julia Child. My grandmother would put on like the PBS cooking programs. So it would be Julia Child, Jackie's Pepon, Two Fat Ladies, like a whole bunch of those shows. And so I kind of grew up watching them and then got interested in cooking from there. And then Colleen Cambridge wrote a cozy mystery entitled Mastering the Art of French Murder. Julia Child is written into the story, and it is delightful. I've heard really good things about that particular book. I haven't read it yet. I may eventually, I'm not sure, but I did hear a lot of really, really good reviews. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I've made good progress, but it looks like chats are kind of dwindling, and it looks like some people have checked out. So I'm thinking that this is maybe a good place to stop for today. If you want me to run another sprint, let me know in the comments. But otherwise, I can also, we can end here. I'm, don't have anything to do today, so I'm happy to run more if people are around. I just don't want to, if everybody's done, that's okay too. So let me know what you think. Cleaned my room and read 12 pages. That's exciting. Good progress. I wish that I could clean that quickly. Unfortunately, my brain just does not allow me to quickly tidy things up. I either have to tear everything apart and deep clean, or just not. So Oz does a lot more of the day-to-day tidying, and I do a lot more of we have a cleaning day on Thursday. That's our night to clean the whole house. So we both get home from work, and then we break down the tasks, and usually I'll deep clean the kitchen and put all the dishes away and all that kind of stuff. And he'll do things like laundry and little bits and pieces here and there. You're welcome, Katie. I can do another sprint if you run another one. Okay, cool. One person in for another sprint. Just let me know, guys, if you want to run another sprint. If not, I'll check out here. But if so, I am perfectly happy to do so. I have just a few more pages to get through to finish this book. So one more sprint. Well, I guess there's a couple people around still, so we could do one more, and then I'll probably end it from there. So 15 minutes, and I'll see you guys then. See if I can't finish. Yeah, make one more sprint. Okay, we're on to one more, and then I think we'll be good. Here, let me restart the 15 minutes just because we're still chatting. Yes, okay. So we've got a handful of people sticking around for one more sprint. So let me just restart that 15-minute timer, and then we will go from there. All right, 15 minutes are on the clock. I will see you guys in a little bit. Right. There's the end of our sprint. Man, this book was brutal. I still have like 8 pages left. This last story is dark. They've all been dark. I mean, some of them have been dark in that they're linked to reality and like what's going on in the world. And some of them are dark in that they're like dystopian elements and they went in really dark directions. And this last book or this last story is of that type. It's a dystopian, horrific post-apocalyptic scenario where the characters are stuck in a time loop. And yeah, it's pretty rough. So I think this is a good stopping point. It's about 11 a.m. Usually 2 hours of sprinting is good. So I hope that everybody has made really good progress on their books, got some pages read or some tasks done, or that they just sat and enjoyed their coffee and had a nice morning. So however you use the sprints, I'm happy if you get something out of it. And yeah, I will be back next week with some sprints. I am going to be setting up my live streams for August, probably later this afternoon. So I will be sprinting on Mondays through August, just like I've done in previous months. I think this works really well, and I feel like we get a pretty decent group of people. So I will just keep the sprints going on Mondays. I will have one Monday in August where there won't be some sprints just because I'm going to be taking a trip with my mom. We're going to be going out to Pasadena, and there is a local bookstore that is in Pasadena that is struggling, that we want to check out. It is called Octavia's Bookshelf, and Octavia's Bookshelf was designed as a nod to Octavia Butler. And it is a Black-owned business and specifically focused on shouting out like Black authors and promoting Black books and things like that. So we had heard about this on social media. One of the bookstores that I like here in Vegas shouted them out and said, hey, they're having a hard time. Any support you can throw at them. And my mom is in California and a lot closer to Pasadena than I am. So I had mentioned it to her, and then we came up with the idea to take a little trip out to Pasadena. So we're going to be doing that in August in a couple weeks, just a little short weekend trip to check out that bookstore and a few others in the area. So that week that I'm in Pasadena, I will not be doing a reading sprint. So I want to say that is like mid-month off the top of my head. So just know that there will be 1 week without reading sprints. I may try to do a reading sprint somewhere else in that week, but yeah, if you see that week has been skipped, don't be alarmed. Otherwise, I'll be here all Mondays through August doing the reading sprints and hopefully helping everyone make progress. So thank you, everybody that joined in. Let's see a couple more comments. Thank you. Read another 11 pages. Awesome. I'm glad you're making some progress. Thank you for the sprints. Thank you for joining in. I made great progress. Thank you. Thank you for popping in, Mom. Always happy to see you here. So I hope all of you have a fantastic week. I hope that Monday started out well and that the rest of the week goes well for you as well. Wow. How many times can you say well in one sentence? I hope that everybody has a good week. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you throughout the week.